So everyone knows the story that Gui Lepine was originally meant to go and play for Hull. And you were coming over to Europe after just 2 years in North America as a professional. Why did you decide to make that jump so early?
At that time, I was back in the US, but I wasn't playing much. I was mostly there. I led the league twice for defensemen and fighting. Uh, I was not getting any called up or any attention really from the AHL. So my agent called me. He's like, it would be a good idea to move to England. It's the same kind of style of North America. Uh, I got this guy, Sylvain Cloutier, French guy. He's telling me you're gonna play a lot, so it's gonna be good for your development. So I'm like, yeah, sure. And in the meantime, my roommate back in Elmira the prior year was Chris Korchinski. He signed there too, so I was going there with my old roommate. We're gonna live together. It was gonna be a good setup for me. I think Chris already sent up his Xbox by mail to make sure it gets to Hull in time. And one night the phone call came from my agents. I look your email and I find out the team folded. I might have called him and asked him what's folded mean, but and later at night I was signing Nottingham, so it was a very, very quick turnaround.
And back then, you didn't speak much, if any, English at all, did you, from what I understand?
I spent 2 years in the US, but I had probably 5 to 7 French teammates, so I didn't really have to talk to. One of my roommates was Ben Doucet, who played in Belfast. We were always together, so he would already order for me, he would talk for me, so I didn't really have to speak English. But and especially with your accent, it's a little different. So it took some time before I got used to it.
So then you said that was a quick turnaround. Then you pretty much came straight to Nottingham and jumped straight into a game, didn't you? There was no practice sessions for you before that first game against Belfast.
Came in late for didn't have training camp. Came in late, do a visa process and everything. I started really late, so it was straight in. I remember I was struggling. It was my first time dealing with jet lag. I was struggling with it. I think Corey was planning of not playing me much, but I didn't have any expectation on me. I think I was coming in there to be the sixth defenseman and end up doing a little bit better than people expected. So,
well, I think the scouting report on you at the time was that because the Nottingham were going to be the toughest team in the league, because obviously Alex Penner was already there, and you were coming in as well. And as you said, I think you over-exceeded everybody's expectations with when you actually got on the ice.
Yeah, well, it's good. It was good to have Penner's. I know my agent, they want me to have the number one role right from the start when I moved to England, because the league was tough, let's be honest. There was some big heavyweight back then. And I was moving in with Penner. He could and he wanted to do the job as number one, so that was good for me. He took those big names as McMorrow and Sawyer and all those big killers, and I could play my game and once in a while just mixing a fight.
And then you get to Nottingham, you got to play straight away. What were your first impressions of, like, I'm not going to say the city, because I imagine you came in, went straight to bed, then had to come and play a game the next day. Yeah. What was your first impressions of the arena?
I was impressed, very impressed. It was packed, it was loud. The way we all came in on the ice, it was great. The locker room wasn't as good as it is now, but it was still okay. There was no complaint at all until I came to Hull. Then that's when I realized that I've always made a big mistake.
And then you get there. That first game is in front of 5,000-6,000 people against Belfast. It goes all the way to a shootout. You have that big fight between Penner and Hoffman early on. Is that a welcome to the Elite League sort of moment? That whole thing.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like all right, I did a good decision. If it's like that everywhere in the league, it's going to be great. And obviously, I don't think I played much that game from coming straight from the plane, basically. But no, it was a good first impression from the Elite League.
And you had and that was your first year in Nottingham. There were two other pretty special players making their debuts for the Panthers in that year, which was Craig Kowalski and David Beauregard.
Yeah.
Tell me about those two guys.
Well, I knew David for playing with his brother back in, I was probably 10 or 12. So, and he was the older brother, knew his story about him losing his eye. Probably met him once or twice. I remember picking up his brother for practice a couple of times, but so I knew David, and he helped me with my visa as soon as I signed. So I already had a connection with him. When I met Kowalski, I mean, he's that little chubby goalie in the net who had a great resume. He tell the story about he kind of won the Stanley Cup as a third goalie, and like, well, okay, this guy is pretty good. And he just, I think it started not as good as people expected, but we knew that he was a really good goalie and we could trust him 100%.
And then I've spoke to plenty of guys on here before who've always told me that their first interaction, first meeting with Corey Neilson is always quite interesting because he's got a very British sense of humor and doesn't always translate to North Americans. What do you remember about your first meeting with Corey?
No, I don't. I just remember being kind of weird that as a Corey being a player coach, he will tell you not to do things and he's the first one doing it. And like, you just give me shit for that and you're doing it. But it's Corey. So, I mean, he do whatever he wants, and he was good enough to do it too. So most of the time it will work, but when he messed, you make sure you give a quick look, and he knows, and he's not looking at you. He's being mad at himself. But he's a good coach. He helped me a lot in my process of developing my skills, make me work a lot of my hands and my weaknesses. So he was a part of me being able to go back and move up. Really.
And one of the big moments early on in that season, I can't remember how early on, it might have been December or something, was the bench clearing brawl in Coventry. And you were perhaps the most well-behaved person in that whole situation because you had the fight at centre ice, then went straight to the penalty box.
Yeah. There's something you don't see on that camera that I probably can't say now because, I mean, it's a long time ago. But Gary remember because he told me about it. When the brawls start and everyone jump on the ice. So I think I'm number 2. I think Stevie's the first one out the gate. Because in Coventry, we only have one gate and second period, so the defensemen are by that gate. So Stevie's out, I'm out. But by that time, that goalie's skating middle on the ice. And the first guy I saw is that goalie. So they just attacked my goalie. I'm going to attack yours. So I body checked him, and he went flying. And their big tough guy, Robinson, came in, and we're squaring off. But that goalie's coming back towards me. So my gloves are off, my helmet is in my hand, and this goalie's coming. So I just throw my helmet right in his face. But he's got his helmet on, so it didn't hurt him anything. But yeah, and then we obviously me and Robinson, we fought clean fight back in the bench. But that's the reason why he's coming back towards the penalty box, because I throw my helmet right in his face. But then when I ripped his helmet, he was not feeling as confident.
Okay, we got an exclusive on here. That's brilliant.
Yeah. But I remember it was funny because in the locker room afterwards, and Gary came in and he's got the list, and he's like, "Penner, you're out. Lepine, you're out." I'm like, me? He's like, "Wow, you can't throw your helmet to the face of the goalie." But yeah, no one saw that, I think. It was not on camera, so yeah, I didn't get any game. I don't think I got any game for this one.
No, because you got that ban really early on, didn't you, for that game against Sheffield?
I got a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a couple of really harsh ones. I'll say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Silverthorne one was harsh. I don't think I deserved any
But you just
game
came
with
straight
that.
out of the box, didn't you? Like, it was straight out of the box, and he just.
Yeah, I didn't do anything for this one, but they reduced it, I believe, from 4 to 1 game or something like that.
Yeah. But when that happens the second time, do you start to think, "Oh, I can't do anything over here"?
Yeah. I remember after, I think it was because it was a very small period of time that I hit Klopke, then Silverthorne, and another guy from Newcastle. And every time I was getting kicked out, it was like, I think I racked up 30 PIMs every game. That's why I got so many penalty minutes that year. And at some point, I'm like, well, I need to finish some games here. So I came back on the ice, and I remember lining up some guys, and they gave the puck maybe 3 seconds and a half. And if I hit him, I'm gone for sure. And I just put the brake on. So it did slow me down a little bit. But even if you're trying to not think about it, it's just, you want to play, and the team needs you as well, because we don't carry that many defensemen. So it started getting your mind.
And you really did adapt your game though, because as you say, like you did learn from it to you started to play more and more and more, and those incidents became less and less and less, and then didn't happen at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, now in nowadays, it's harder to get a big hit middle ice. First of all, for that to happen, you need defenseman to throw a bad pass, and you need the forward who put his body in a weird position. So defensemen are way better in the league, that's for sure, and forwards as well. So for that to happen, you need really someone who messed up, and you had the good timing and the good speed. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying for it, and I'm not looking for it. I'm always on the look for that. But most of the time, the defenseman, you can see he's got his head up, and he sees forward is in a bad position, and he's not going to make that pass. So that can't happen there.
And that year, around Christmas time, when I think Kowalski got injured, that year took a really weird turn.
Yeah.
Like that team was so talented, but they just started to lose games that they definitely should not have lost. I mean, there was the one in Newcastle, wasn't there? That's the one that everyone remembers, where they lost 4-3 to like 7 skaters or something.
Oh, it's possible. Newcastle, I think we lost one against Edinburgh at home too. That they had like players coming from Nottingham Lions or something. Yeah, it was just a little down. I don't know, we didn't play very well. Definitely not play as expected. But yeah, things happen, fortunately.
But that team did turn everything around.
Yeah,
in a pretty spectacular way.
Yeah, Challenge Cup came in big. Challenge Cup was a little more exciting back then. I feel that guys were taking it very seriously. And then the playoff. I mean, as North American, we're kind of built for that. That's our mindset. So when playoffs come, it's go time. And it was great. As first 2 experience of going on the balcony and seeing all those fans and all those chances. It was phenomenal. It was a great experience.
And that Challenge Cup was your first professional championship.
Yeah.
Does that make that one the most special one almost?
Not the most special one, but it was great to be a winner finally. And that feeling, it doesn't matter which league you play in, when you got the trophy and you raise it on top of your head and you work so hard and you bleed and you sweat for it. Doesn't matter which trophy it is, it's a great feeling. And it was great to lift that one up.
And then that year you had guys like Jeff Harima and Daniel Kachuk come in, halfway, 3/4 through the season. And they've obviously played so many NHL games between them. What difference did they make in that locker room?
Well, I feel Kachuk got hurt at the end, so he didn't play much with us. But Harima was so good. I mean, he was proper good. And he's not flashy guy, so I mean, fans probably didn't really notice him, but as a player, you can tell that, okay, this guy played in the NHL, and you can tell why. He was a quiet guy. He's doing his things. He's just a real professional, and but it was good to watch him play and do his things as ex-NHLer.
And you could see it as it got towards the playoffs. I think he just got better and better and better.
Oh yeah,
and better.
Oh yeah, it took some time to get used to the big ice and the way the elite league plays, but he was good. He had some good stuff.
And you go through a crazy playoff quarterfinal against the Clan to get to the playoff finals weekend.
Was that the one we were down?
No, that was the year before. You went down 3-0. The year after, sorry. This one you were 5-4 up coming back home, I think.
Yeah.
But then you get to that playoff finals weekend, and I'm sure you've been told all about it from the players in the locker room, what it's like, all the different fans in that.
Yeah.
It's like, what were your first impressions of it when you got there?
It was wild. I mean, you get cheer on one side, you get booed on the other side. Basically, it's loud. You never know. Normally, you can, if you don't pay attention to the game for whatever reason, you can know that something is happening. But it can be like a normal D-to-D pass and nothing, and something's happening in the stand that someone threw a balloon and people are going crazy. So it's like it's hard to explain. I try to explain to my friends there what the playoff weekend looks like, and it's just a big party, to be fair. And it's great for that reason. It's like a big thank you to the fans, and thanks for coming in. We'll play hard for you guys, and you have fun for this time. And God, they look like they're having fun, so it's good.
As well, I was talking to Finity on Sunday. He was saying he can't wait for the day he can just go to that and just watch it.
Yeah. It looks like a proper fun weekend to go in town, and like when you walk from town and you go to the ring and you can see all the jersey and people having pints outside, and it's always nice that weekend outside, and it's just like it looks a proper night, a proper fun weekend for everyone.
And then that playoff weekend was perhaps the hardest route to win that championship that the Panthers could have taken. You had to go through the league champions in Sheffield on the Saturday, and then that Cardiff team that had set all the records for wins in a row, points in a season, and things like that. That must have been for that group to come through. That was incredible.
Yeah, I mean we work hard. We battle every inch to get to the net, to get every inch to get to the puck, and it was the feeling afterward. It was great. We were all beat up, we were all exhausted, but when you finish the season with your two arms in the air, it's a great feeling, and it's good memory, that's for sure.
And I can imagine that final against Cardiff where they take a 2-0 lead, we score one late on, and it's just back and forth. And I assume if you're a Cardiff fan, you won't think so, but it's probably one of the best playoff finals of all time. When you're going,
loads of goals and exciting hockey. And, I mean, what else can you wish if you go for a final?
And then and for Mr. Playoffs, David Beauregard to get that goal that won it. Yeah. And then I remember when I was talking to Jordan Fox, he said that when David, who is a 35, 36-year-old, scores a goal and he celebrates like a 16-year-old kid scoring his first goal, that just lifts the whole team as well, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And coming from Bo, I mean, he's such a good guy, and he's such a big part of the locker room, and it brings everyone together. And we knew after that, I mean, we got a chance now, and that's not messed up. And we didn't, so it was great.
And then speaking about Bo, when I had him on this show, you made me ask him about a certain story involving a bus trip. Now, as you said about the Coventry game, the time has passed, so it's safe to tell it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go into this one. It's a good story, but it was a good one. Bo has so many stories. It's unbelievable. He will. This guy will teach me to play poker online while being in two separate houses, while playing on 4 or 5 tables and watching hockey on the big screen. It was like, how can you do that? There's just a machine, but yeah, he's just poker machine. He's just multitasking, and yeah, that's Bo. It just never stop.
Well, if people want to hear that story, they've got to go back and listen to the David Beauregard episode then.
Yeah. Well, he's got some good stories. He's even better when you have a pint with him and he can talk freely.
And then how easy was it for you to re-sign in Nottingham after that first year?
It was just a normality. It's just all right. Well, my agent once again, we kind of sat again, and it's like, yeah, I think it'll be good if you get another year, and things went well. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm back, and I think I had a deal in place before the playoff weekend. Because I remember being on the balcony and Gary is right beside me. I think the fans were chanting, sign him up. And Gary's like, yeah, your offer is not going higher for that. And I'm like, oh, really? It's too bad. But yeah, that balcony stuff is something and no one ever experienced. And you have to be there to really understand what it is.
And that second year, there's a change in the roster. You get guys like Matt Francis come in, Jordan Fox comes in.
Yeah.
What did those kind of guys bring to that locker room?
Well, Franny ended up being one of my roommates. Two good guys again. Franny brought a lot of speed to our game that was needed. Foxy obviously had so much skills. He's a big forward that doesn't really gonna hit every time, but when he hits you, you feel it. But he's just bringing that offensive skill that you never know is gonna dangle you, he's gonna pass, he's gonna shoot, and obviously a great leader as well. So it's good. Really good addition.
And obviously that year was the year, and there was a lot of noise when Sheffield brought in Colt King. Yeah. Did you ever pay attention to any of that noise? Because I imagine when they signed a guy, you see, oh yeah, they signed a tough guy. You don't sit there thinking about it before you have to play Sheffield sort of thing.
Well, obviously, I always I want to find out who's on the other side and what they're like, because I don't want to be caught by surprise. But yeah, I knew the guy's tough. He was really tough. I mean, we got one fight. It's funny that fans are still talking about it because, I mean, yeah, I lost one fight against him, but it's not the only fight I lost in my career. And if you guys still enjoy watching this one, I mean, good for you. But I mean, if you go on the internet, there's other loss I can show you. But yeah, he's a tough guy. I mean, he's an honest guy. He's the kind of player that I respect a lot because he's not a guy who run his mouth. He's play his game. He play tough. He play hard. We went to battle. He won this one. Good for you. I mean, but for me paying too much attention to him, no. I mean, I don't. I try to have a good night of sleep before bed, so I don't. Especially when I get older, I know who's on the other side, but I don't pay that much attention anymore.
And you never had to fight him again, really, because I think Foxy got him kicked out of every game after that.
Yeah, I mean,
he could go under his skin more than I've seen any other player get under anyone's skin. And after talking to him, apparently he's been trying to kill him for years, is what I found out. Apparently he used to wind him up in the ECHL as well, so that goes back a long way.
Yeah.
And then that year, your kind of teams, like that Panthers team was quite unlucky that they played against one of the best Belfast Giants teams ever that year because they just ran away with the league.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers team that year only lost 7 games or something in the league. So it should have been closer than it actually was, but that Belfast team just never seemed to last.
Yeah, that Belfast team was something else. They were good. But, yeah, we came out short.
Yeah. Well, but you handled them in the Challenge Cup again. And then you go back to the playoffs again and secure another double. And your kind of rallying point that year was that Jeff Harima had to retire because of his unfortunate injury. That was it a stick or a puck that hit him in the face? And
puck right in the nose. Yeah, he had to broke his nose about 3 or 4 times. I think It was bad.
Yeah. And you guys kind of rallied around that. That was like your motivational thing, like do this for Jeff
Yeah,
from the rest of the season.
We wanted to send him to a retirement on a good note, and what a better way to do it as a champion.
And then to do, like you mentioned, the retirement thing, you've got Rhett Gordon came in as well, and that ended up being his last year. Yeah. He came in and helped that team tremendously. You had him, you had Sammy Ryan, and who were two. I'd say from that laugh, he was a bit of a character.
Oh, he's funny. He was funny. His accent was funny, and he didn't take himself too seriously too. So he was a good guy.
And then that playoff finals weekend was a little bit different because you had that game against Hull on the Saturday, where you're expected to win that one, which I imagine makes it a little bit worse going into the game.
It was. Well, we knew we could beat Ulm easy, and especially when you find out that, if I'm not mistaken, they took the ice out in the Hull arena before the playoff weekend, not expecting that Hull would make it. So they couldn't practice all week, I think. So they show up in Nottingham, and we spanked them. I get some phone call here. But yeah, it's. I think Sylvain Cloutier was getting mad at the end because we're up too much, and he didn't want to get embarrassed. And but I mean, everything was going in. We didn't want to embarrass him, but at the same time, you want to play a certain level for the next night because you're moving on. It was a good game. I mean, good win.
Entertain the fans is, I think, what it is.
Yeah, I don't think we even tried for that. It's one of those that everything went in, and I think their goalie retired after that game too. It was planned. It's not because we scored too many goals.
You sent him off into retirement.
Yeah. I skated with him the summer after that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, their team was not as good as ours, and that's bottom of the line. Yeah.
And then the next day, the game is completely different. It's one of the tightest, like nothing, like it was just like a chess match. Nothing was happening. And then that's the game where you got that 2+10 for the check-in centre ice, which must have been, it's a playoff game. I can't imagine how frustrated you were at that point.
Well, I mean, you think you're gonna cuss. First of all, you're not gonna play for 14 minutes basically, and then you like, man, am I gonna cuss that game because it's 0-0 and I'm sitting on the box when both score, I believe, and now just things erupted. But I have to go back on the ice after not playing, being so cold, and it's not great to be a spectator when you're on a big stage like that. You want to be involved. You want to be part of it.
And as you mentioned, Bo again, he comes up big in another playoff final. For some bizarre reason, Cardiff leave him wide open, top of the slot.
And he's the guy, I think probably most of us will take the puck and shoot right away. But no, he takes it, take his time, bring it to his back end, beat the goalie, just score that goal. It's phenomenal.
And then you spoke about the atmosphere when you're on the balcony. You get to do that 2 years in a row at that point.
Well, 2 years in a row, 4 times, because both Challenge Cup and playoff.
Yeah. Does it get more special the more you do it? Does it make you appreciate it more each time you get to do it? Like, in case I don't ever get to do this again.
I think the first one is very special because it's the first one. We've never been there, and like, oh my God, there's so many people. But every time was great too. The fans were so great. They all stay basically. There's I don't know how many, probably a couple thousand there, just chanting and screaming, and it's like, wow, that's great. We got such a great support there, and you can appreciate it.
And then after that year, you go back to North America to give it a shot over there. Now, unfortunately, you go back over there when the lockout happens.
Yeah, that lockout really messed up my plans. It was just, I told Corey I was not coming back. I wanted to go. It was time for me to go back in North America, try to get some AHL game, and lockout happened. Couldn't get AHL training camp because all the rosters are full. Even ECHL, I think it was hard to get, and that's not somewhere I wanted to go. But like, it just did a domino effect that everyone went back down. So, give a call to Corey. Luckily, he got injured a couple games before, and there's a spot for me up there, and he welcomed me back. So I was kind of lucky to get a spot, a good timing. Unfortunately for Corey, that ended his career, but he did well after, so it's fine.
And do you remember the noise in the arena for your first game back?
I don't remember that, but if you're telling me, I'm guessing it was pretty loud.
It was pretty like when I was speaking to Eric Werner, he said he's never heard a reception like that before for someone, and then he's like, I've got to play with this guy. Oh God.
Yeah, no, it's good. It was good to come back. Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't leave because I didn't like it in Nottingham, and obviously I wouldn't be back if it was the case. But it was for me to still progress in the game, and when that didn't happen for external reason out of my control, I was more happy to come back to Nottingham.
And you come into a Nottingham locker room that's changed a bit. There's been a bit of turnover in the British players. Danny Myers left, Jonathan Weaver came in. David Ling comes into that locker room.
Yeah.
Bruce Graham comes into that. How different did it feel? Did it feel different to the 2 years before?
Not really, because the main group was still in place. Jordan Fox and the Franny, Kowalski. And most of the British guy except Danny was still there. So it was kind of walk right from the boys, and I just had to meet a couple new guys. So no, it was really easy transition, and I think everyone was happy to welcome me back too. So it was a good fit.
Because you came back in at the same time like Anthony Stewart came in as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was about the same time. Yeah.
What was it?
All the attention went to him, so it's fine.
And what did Anthony bring to that locker room? Because obviously he's a bona fide NHL player. Was he just like another one of the guys in that room?
Oh, 100%. He enjoyed every time every moment in Nottingham. I was pretty close to him too during that time, so we ended up having a couple pints. He was just part of the boys. He didn't play the NHL card. It was not cocky or anything. It was just he was there for a reason. Stay in shape, and in case things go back there. And obviously, I think the more he progressed with us, the more he got involved, and fortunately decided at some point to go back and for us. But yeah, he was a good part of, and like his brother, like Chris, they're two really good, humble guy that they're team first guy, and they will do anything for the team. So yeah, that was good. It was good to play with the two brothers and see the difference. And there's not much difference, but they look very different. But two good guys.
And then I mentioned David Ling, and everyone who comes on here has a David Ling story. What is your David Ling story?
David Ling's story.
Now, I know they're not all safe, but there is always a safe one.
He had that weird tendency, or that weird, he would eat a green pepper before game in his locker room. And I don't know the reason for that, and I don't know what it gave him, but yeah, just a raw green pepper right from like an apple, basically. Oh, I don't know why. I couldn't tell, but I think it was pretty weird. So yeah, it's my funny story of David Ling.
Have you ever played with a guy like him before?
No, there's no one like him before.
Because
he was so talented, and he had everything. I mean, he was tough, he was skilled, he could pass, he could shoot. Not very fast, but he could make up his out of speed for all the skills he had. And he is a good guy in the locker room. He'll make sure that he keep you accountable, and on a funny way, but at the same time, on a little poke you, make sure, like if you had a bad game before, it's like, hey, hey, Guy, you can't play 2 bad games in a row, eh? And you just laugh and like it kind of piss you off, but at the same time, you know he's right, and you know you can't play 2 bad games in a row, and just get you going. So it was good stuff to have in the locker room. You make sure you're accountable.
There's obviously one thing he's also very well remembered for is his little water skiing trip.
Yeah.
What do you remember thinking?
I saw him leaving during that Zamboni. I was like, what is he doing? And he started throwing the film. I'm like, oh boy. That's Slinger. That's okay.
One of the big turning points of that season is there was a game where you played Edinburgh at home and you lost 2-1. And everyone delights in telling me that was Corey's last game as a player. Like Rick Strachan laughed about it. Jordan Fox laughed about that fact. And he was a -2 as well.
Oh, really? Well, I missed this one then.
And then I think after he got hurt in Cardiff, he played one more game. This was in December. And obviously, you've been in Nottingham for 2 years in a row. You know about Nottingham in December.
Yeah.
That everything goes wrong at that point. Then you lose that game. And then Jordan Fox comes out and says, it's completely my fault. I'm the captain. I should have got everybody ready. Tell me about Jordan Fox, the leader in the locker room.
He's a good leader, but he had probably the easiest locker room to lead on, because there was so much leadership in that locker room that, like David Lane, who you could just call you out in the middle of the locker room, and everyone was. We had a little bit older team too, so we had different diversity of leaders in that locker room. But yeah, I think Jordan was capable of getting boys together. Really good. If Jordan would say, okay, we're going out tonight as a team after a game or whatever. I mean, everyone was there, and that was one of the greatest thing about this team is we were so close, and it was just not the guys who are like the single guys or the guys with no girlfriend in town. It was like we go out, everyone's out together, wife to girlfriend. So Jordan was good for that, but yeah, the amount of leadership in that locker room was phenomenal. A guy like Bruce, who's just a quiet guy, but so professional. A guy like Weavers, who've been in the league forever. I mean, when he says something, you make sure you listen, and he had that respect too that he earned. It was just a lot of guys who earned respect, and I think it was probably the easiest team to lead, but at the same time, he did a great job by taking charge when it was time.
And then you mentioned the guys in that locker room. How much fun was it to play with Eric Werner as your defense partner?
Oh, it was great. I mean, my best successful year was when I was paired with a guy like Warren. Because for me, I'm not a guy who wants to deal with the puck. I'll play defensively. I'll be good. I'll get the puck out. But if I got someone who wants the puck, I'm going to give it to you, and then you do your stuff. I'll be back there, make sure if something happened, but I'll give you the puck, you do your stuff. And Warren was so good with that. He'll just weasel around and do his little thing. And
the head fake.
He knew that if someone hit him, I'll be there. And if something doesn't go right up there, I'll be back there to back him up. So we had a good relationship like that.
And then that year, you also had a pretty incredible. It was incredible. It was a very interesting game on Boxing Day against Sheffield, where it goes to the shootout because Panthers go 2-0 up early. Danny Myers scores with 17 seconds left to tie the whole game up. It goes to that 9-round shootout. That's insane.
I'm still mad at Corey. He didn't send me out, but we won, so I guess I'd pass it.
I've seen you in training. You could go good on the breakaway.
You saw me, yeah, once in a while.
I'm watching. Don't worry. And then the next night you go to Sheffield, and unfortunately that game goes to them. But there's a pretty big incident in that game where Kelsey Wilson takes a pretty big swipe at a Sheffield player. Now, Kelsey gets a 3-game ban for that, which well done to Gary for whatever he did to make that. But from talking to Rick, he said from that point on, he knew there would be no more problems with Sheffield because they would come nowhere near any of the players. Because you were there, yes, Jason Beckett was there, but Kelsey added that little bit of extra nastiness that was needed.
Oh yeah. Well, Kelsey, yeah, you didn't know what Kelsey could do. And he was tough. I mean, he will go toe to toe and take some punch, and he'll give a lot too. But yeah, he's that kind of guy that, there's guys who talks a lot and they're not gonna do anything. But Kelsey didn't talk much, but you never know what he's gonna do. So, and I think that time he proved to everyone that, yeah, he's a dangerous player. So leave him alone and leave everyone around. Yeah, so it's good for us. I mean, 3 game. For that kind of feeling, it's worth it in my book. But it was pre Dobbs era, so
they obviously lost that camera they got for you in your first game against Sheffield, that super zoomed in one for their club key hit.
Yeah, technology's changed now. I mean, in the ECHL, I got suspended because that we had a brawl in warm up. And obviously, I was in the middle of it. And the camera of the team, it was in Allen, Texas. The camera of the team didn't work for warm-up. And I believe it was planned for them, but one member of the Allen team was Facebook Live on his phone. And because of Facebook Live, the team could review the incident. I got suspended 7 games. I was not happy about it.
Oh no!
The technology is changing now. It's good because the image they use for my, I think it on Silverthorne too. They kind of had some colors and it didn't make sense at all. And you couldn't see anything. And I don't know who sold that technology to the league, but they should get their money back.
And then the next big thing that happens in that year is David Beauregard comes back.
Yeah. As a spare import.
And that takes, for a guy like David, who could have come in that team and just took up a regular slot, he could still play. For him to come in and be a spare and just be around, how important was he?
I mean, it was such a great teammate move from him that you had to respect it. And I think everyone was just happy to have Bo back in the locker room. That was the most important for everyone. He's the guy who set up hockey fantasy or golf fantasy or any kind of fantasy sports. Bo would set it up and make sure that football, gonna watch football at some place. And he's so involved in sport and he loves it so much. And yeah, he brings some life in the locker room. So everyone was very happy to welcome Bo back.
And one of the games that is pointed out as being the point where people started to think, yes, the Panthers can actually win the league this year, was the game against Sheffield where Jordan scored that goal.
Yeah.
What do you remember about watching that goal?
I mean, I watched it lately, and it's just a beautiful move. Just a beautiful move. But he did it so much in practice. I'm not surprised of seeing it during a game because he's doing that move all the time. Probably never work on me, but against a defenseman from Sheffield, yeah, of course it's going to work.
Whenever there's a next testimonial, we'll have to set that up. Can Jordan Fox go around Guy?
I think if the testimonial is in the next few years, I think I'm fine.
And then from that game on, the Panthers are a juggernaut. And then you go to Belfast, and you've got a doubleheader there, and a win seals the league. And obviously that team was just a team full of winners. Yeah. Did you know you were going to do it that first night?
We wanted to because it was
it's a good city to win a championship in.
Yeah. I think it was a Friday night in Belfast. So I'm like, well, we got a chance to have 2 really good nights out. So no, but yeah, we didn't want to mess up. We wanted to get the job done. So obviously, if you have a chance to do it right away, you have to take that opportunity. And we came out hard. It's never easy to go to Belfast and play there. But I mean, I just remember Franny's goal and being in the corner and celebrating by the fans. And it was a special moment, really. It was great.
With all the fans that were out there, it must have almost felt like a home game because the Panthers fans were packed in that corner.
Yeah. Panthers fans didn't want to miss that chance to see us lifting that trophy. They've been waiting for so long, and I remember being in that corner and celebrating and seeing some fans crying, and like, wow, that means a lot for the community and for the fans. They've been supporting the Panthers for so many years, and it was great to give them the trophy.
And that's the thing about the Elite League, isn't it? Like, you do develop, because of how social media is now, because of all the community stuff you do in Nottingham, with like the skates and the sponsorships and things, you get close to people. You start to recognise fans in the stands and things, don't you?
Oh yeah. You get a lot of chance to interact with them, and during the season, and there's a group of fans who will follow you a little bit more, so you get to know them a little bit more. So and I mean, we get chance at the Legend, get some pints sometimes with fans, and it's good to know them. It's good for them to know us too as a person and just a hockey player, because it's easy to just judge someone on their on-ice performance. But when you kind of have a chat with the person, you kind of realize that it's just another human being, and maybe you'll be not as harsh on Twitter the next time when you had a bad game. But that's each other for that proximity with fans that you probably don't have as much in other leagues.
And then how much of a blur was the rest of that season? Because you win the league, then it's straight to the Challenge Cup final, and then it's playoffs. Everything seemed to happen all at once.
It was so much drinking. It was Belfast 2 nights in a row, came back in Nottingham, probably Hooters until closing time. Then we won the Challenge Cup, and I think we presented the trophy in Nottingham too before the Challenge Cup. So that was another night out. Then Challenge Cup, another night out. Then we won the playoff, and it was hard on the liver, but it was worth it. It was good fun.
And then that playoff weekend, again, I can never remember the semi-final of that weekend. That final was a pretty special game against Belfast.
Yeah, well, we won the league there, so I mean, they wanted us, but we were on a roll. We had confidence was high. We knew we could do it, and I mean, having the chance to get the Grand Slam, it's something we really had in mind. So we didn't want to mess up.
And then they take that penalty in overtime, and to be able to send out David Ling, Jordan Fox, David Clark, and Eric Werner. Yeah. How much faith did you have in those 4 guys that, they're going to get this done?
Well, it happened so many times during the year that we're down and like, well, we'll have a power play and we'll be back in the game because those guys were so good. And yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. We were so confident with our power play. I wish I had the numbers or how much goal we scored that year, but it was dangerous coming from anywhere. I mean, you got Clarkey, you can rip the puck like anyone else. You had Linger, who will make some beautiful pass. Werner will control the blue line. You had Super Bruce to just snipe from that corner right there, and everyone has got in mind and just you got danger everywhere. So as a PK, how can you manage to control everywhere? You just have to stay tight, I believe, and just take some shot. But it was hard to defend for them for sure.
And then at what point, like, you've been in Nottingham then 3 seasons, you've won 7 trophies.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize, like, this is what's happened here in these last 3 years is special? This is a legacy defining sort of thing.
Well, I think you don't realize that really right from the start because you're just on a roll that, okay, we got the same team for 3 years and we've been having a lot of success. But that's when you step back and really start thinking about it. I mean, 7 trophy out of 9 during that time was pretty impressive. And like, wow, that's really good. And especially having the league trophy that the Panthers didn't win for 1956 or 46, I think. That's when you realize that, okay, that that's special, and it's hard to win that trophy. I mean, it's a completely mindset that you have to get from right from the start till the end, and it took us 3 years as a group of players to really get that mindset and accomplish that.
And you're playing with guys like David Clark, who's never won that trophy before. You're playing with you've got Goody as the equipment manager. He is Goody is part of the team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you're almost trying to do it for those guys more than yourself at that point, aren't you?
Well, you want to do it for everyone. You want to do it for the fans. You want to do it for Gary, for Neil, for everyone who wants so bad that trophy. And when you finally get it, I mean, you can see the reaction in town and what it meant for the organization, that they worked very hard for so many years to build that team, to finally get it. And it was just a good feeling.
And then speaking of Goody, he's kind of an unsung hero in that locker room. I know you're close to Goody.
Yeah.
Just what does he do for that room? Because his room is it's like an agony aunt corner. People go in there just to vent to Goody. He looks after everyone. He's like the dad of everybody, sort of thing. Just tell how important Goody is, because he'll like to hear that.
He's he's a middleman of everything, basically. He's the relation between locker room and the coach, between players. He's a guy. He's got more responsibility that everyone think he has in that team from the outside. Because as soon as you met him and you kind of spend time with him, you kind of realize that, okay, this guy has been in the league he's been in this team for so many years that he's there to help you. Basically, he wants to win like everyone else, if not more. So everything he can help you with, if it's equipment, if it's any problem he can have, that he's gonna do his best to help you. And he's been a great friend of mine, and I probably spend the most time in this little locker room than anyone else. But he's that guy that you grab a cup of coffee and you sit in his locker room and you can have a chat about anything. And especially if something's bothering you, if something that feels not right, he knows that's probably happens someone else before, and he's going to tell you what it is. Straightforward, very honest, and he's good guy.
And then a lot of times in the Elite League, imports come and go. So your core is kind of your British players. So how important was guys like David Clark, Matthew Myers, Robert Lakovic, Danny Myers? How important were they in helping you settle in Nottingham?
Well, the one who helped me the most was Stevie, because
of course,
it just after a couple months I moved with him, and basically he welcomed me home, and I lived with him for 3 seasons with Steve and Claire. So I was almost their child, but even if I'm older than them. But that group of guys they're a really good guy, and they welcome you open arms. And I had so much fun with Stevie, but also with Clarky, and we had so much good memories. And when I went back to see them after 5 years in Mexico, it was a great blast, because I didn't see them, and we kept in touch, but it's not the same that being together. And that feeling when I saw Stevie looking up and saw me for the first time at his bachelor party, I mean, that worth a lot of. That was worth it.
I'm going to get to that Mexico trip in a minute,
okay.
Because obviously that was a very important moment in Panthers history, that Mexico trip. But after the Grand Slam, you go back to North America. Was that just a case of, I wanted to do this last year, now I've won everything here, I want to go and give that a proper go?
Well, for myself, I need to go back. I had to prove to myself that I was capable of playing in the AHL. Obviously you're on the ice and you compare yourself with other players, other defensemen the same caliber, and you see this guy play 50 games, or this guy play 3 games, and I feel I can be better than him, and that kind of bothered me for a couple of years. And so it was the plan the year before. Now the lockout's over. There's no more barrier between me and that goal of mine. So I just before playoff, I had a coach in the CHL who was Franny's ex-coach who reached out to me, gave me a really good offer that I wasn't expecting, to go in the ACHL with training camp in the AHL. So it was kind of taking place slowly, and it was already a decision before the season started. So it wasn't, win or lose, it wasn't going to change my mind really.
And then how much credit do you give guys like Corey Neilson and Rick Strachan for like your development as a player?
Oh, a lot. Because first of all, they gave me the chance of being on the ice. That's what I needed. I needed to play. I need to express. I need to experience different level. Corey helped me really with skills and probably pushed me to be a little bit more offensive. Put me up front a couple of games too. So that was.
And on the power play.
Yeah, on the power play. I mean, I haven't played on the power play since.
You scored in Sheffield on it. I remember that goal.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. But yeah, they trust me. They gave me confidence back, make me work on my weaknesses, and when I went back in North America, that really showed. So that was very pleased with Corey and the Strikes of taking time to work with me and help me develop as a player.
And Corey and Strikes are kind of like the perfect duo, aren't they? They're both so different, but they just fit together like the perfect jigsaw.
Yeah, they were a great team. When Strikes came in, he fit right in, and obviously as being bench coach is a bit different. But 2 seasons ago, when he was there on full time on the ice, it was good to. I mean, even. I would grab Strikes and work with him for 5-10 minutes after practice, and he's good for that. So no, he helps a lot too.
And he's funny as well. He's got a wicked sense of humor. And if you mess up, he will let you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So then you spend 5 years back in North America. At any point, did you think you would come back to the Elite League?
Well, my first season in the ACHL, it took until after Christmas, I believe, before I got my first call up. And by Christmas time, I was kind of, all right, it's not working. Let's go back to Europe. And I had some offer, I think, in the Russian second league or something. Really good money, but kind of sketchy. So I was on contact with my agent until the phone rang finally, and the Utica Comets called me up for. I think the plan was a weekend, and they were on the road in Chicago and that area. So I got my first game by coming in late for practice once again, and I couldn't practice with the team. So then it was a morning game. I think 10 or 11 a.m. game that they filled the arena with students and little kids. And it's loud. It's one of the loudest game ever. And coaching staff didn't know who they were getting. They haven't seen me practice or even skate. They saw me in warm up basically, and they sent me out there, and game went well. Got a good fight. Then second game, same. Play a good game. Another good fight. Third game, whatever game. But then the NHL were going to the Olympic breaks, I believe, or the All-Star break. So all the guys came back. So I'm supposed to leave and go back to Evansville. And some defenseman got hurt that game that I'm watching in the stands, and my flight is the next morning. So the team's like, well, you're going to go back, but you might come back. And I had time to land in Evansville that I had a phone call saying that I was coming back in 2-3 days. So at least I could pack a better suitcase to go back there. And I ended up spending 2 months over there. So, but yeah, I was close to leave. Probably not in Nottingham, but I was close to leave to go back in Europe. And after that season, I mean, Corey kept calling every season. I mean, even when I was on 2-year contract in the AHL, he was still called. So I had a talk with my dad, and he's like, well, you just had your first taste of the AHL. Maybe you should stay and get a proper shot. And that's when Ottawa invited me for their training camp for the first time. Funny story that I get to Ottawa, and all right, I'm in training camp, and we had a team dinner, and the GM called me, and we haven't skated. We just did the off-ice testing and the doctor testing and everything. And the GM called me with 3 or 4 other guys, and was like, yeah, guys, well, tomorrow we're going to St. John, and we have limited place in the plane, so you guys are going to stay behind. And so I'm like, oh, I just got cut before putting a feet on the ice, so that's great. But that gave me the chance to work with Luke Richardson, the AHL coach, and he kind of get to know me. And by December, they were calling me up for the rest of the season and signing me for 2 years. So ended up being pretty good for me.
And you ended up playing, I've got it in front of me here, 167 games in the AHL. So you made it in the AHL. You were an AHL player.
Yeah.
That must be a great sense of pride for you.
Oh, I was very happy when, first of all, when I got that call up in Binghamton, I show up there, and one of the assistant coach told me, he's like, yeah, we've been trying to call you up for a long time. I'm like, finally, and it's a business. There's guys on contract, and it's hard to move guys around. But
it's political with people who are drafted, isn't it? Like they'll always get the shot above a free agent signing.
And you're on contract, so if you're on an AHL contract, even if they send you down, they're still paying you. So it's a question of money as well. So, but I show up there. First game of Todd Bertuzzi in the AHL as well, so that was pretty fun. And I end up doing well for the rest of the season. They pair me with Chris Weinman, who ended up being the top defenseman of the AHL, end up moving to the NHL the following year. Werner just gave him the puck and he do his thing, and he ended up with 60 points, I think. So I got 1 or 2 apple on this with this player. Is just a good player to give the puck to, and he knew I was backing him up. So just a good season, and I finished the season. They gave me an extension of 2 more years, so I was set for 2 other years.
So you have those 2 other years in Binghamton. Then you go back to Evansville? Wichita, of course, because when we re-signed you, I used the image of Dorothy from...
Yeah.
Because the link made sense. You go back to Wichita, and then after that season finishes, that's when this trip to Mexico happens. Yeah,
well, to be honest, before that trip, Corey was in touch with me during my suspension of 7 game. He wanted to bring me back. We were pretty close to a deal. Then I had a deal in Slovakia. It was tempting. Money-wise, Slovakia was tempting, but it was sketchy with visa. They're telling me I don't need any visa. And I heard some terrible stories since then too. So I was kind of...
Even guys like Tuzi, he went there.
Yeah. Anderson ended up being in jail, I think, in Slovakia because he didn't have any visa. So, yeah, some terrible story happened up there. But money was good. And I met with my coach in Wichita. And back then I was player assistant coach too. So I felt bad leaving that team, having that role. And he kind of matched up the salary that I was going to make. And at that point, it didn't make any sense for me to leave and to drive. I believe it's 27 hours from Wichita to Quebec to leave my car. And it was such a small period of time that I'm like, well, you know what, I'm going to stay. I'm going to get the full experience as a player assistant coach. And it was a good decision. We ended up making the playoffs, so that was good too.
And then they said, then the trip to Mexico happens.
Yeah.
You got Goody, Stevie, David Clark, all those 3 guys. Is there anyone else there?
Racco, Ollie.
So is this just one big recruitment pitch for you when you get there?
No, well, Goody told me right from the start, he's like, well, I'm going to try to sign you this week. I'm like, yeah, that's sure. But obviously, you do that every year, so nothing new. But I remember just having, I think we're at a pool party and having some beers with Gui and Clarky, and we start talking. And it's early in the summer, so teams start calling, but I mean, there's not much action going on. And that's really when we start talking about Loughborough University and all that changed from when I was there, and how great it is, and all the players are succeeding from there. And that kind of start making me think when I went back home and like, well, that might be a good option to consider, because when I was in Nottingham the first time, I saw players going to university, and that's when I realized that, well, I don't have any degree, and I started taking online classes from a French university from back home. So, I mean, that was interesting to get some education, and but I told Goody, if I take a decision, it's because I really want to come back 100%. I'm not gonna waste. There was Rich Chermaz at that time who was there, and when I took a decision, I was like, all right, if I got a good deal, I'm coming. And it didn't take too much time that Rich got in contact, and we get that deal set up.
No, see, that's a very different Nottingham himself. David Clark's not there anymore. He's retired. Corey's moved to Germany. That locker room must have, Lacko's still there, Ollie's there, but it must have felt, Stevie's still there. It must have felt different.
Yeah. It was, I mean, Ollie, I played with Ollie, but he was, I think he played 5 games with us. He was very young. So I knew him more in Mexico. I found out about him more in Mexico than on the ice when he was there with the Panthers. But it's basically Goody was still there. Lacko, Stevie.
Strax is still there.
Strax still there. Greener is still there around. He's helping. He's got a new role in the team. So it's very, very different. Very, very different in the locker room.
And that was kind of like that was like a land of the giants Panthers team. Everyone seemed to be 6'4" with a few little guys skating around. And for all the talent that was on that team, it just didn't seem to click for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean,
and that happens.
A lot of talent. There was a lot of different personality who didn't just match together, and things happen sometimes. It's unfortunate because I think Rich took the blame for a lot of stuff that maybe he did make some mistake on recruitment, but it was, he took a lot of blame. I would have put all that blame on him, but it just didn't work out. And that's one of those years that sometimes you put a group together that is going to work and sometimes it's not. So, and then when it's a brand new team like that with everyone new, you have to expect it. You never know how that's going to end up.
And like you said, Rich unfortunately moved on in January. Strax took over, and I know one of his big goals was to bring back the fun to that group, because that's almost what they needed. And you took on the assistant coach role as well as Kevin Henderson. And as a coaching trio, what was your three's goals for the end of that season? Because obviously that's just after when Chris had come in as well.
Yeah, it was a hard time. I mean, we had to jingle with a lot of time, a lot of things. We wanted to keep simple. I mean, our goal was to finish a year on a good note. We still finished in 3rd place, so I mean, it was not a terrible season. It was not, but on the eyes of the fans, it was. I think the effort was not there every night, and we scored some goal, but we gave a lot of goals too, so that wasn't that good. We tried to bring the fun back, but at the same time, winning is fun. So I don't think we achieve it. I think we really tried to manage to make sure it's not getting worse, and try to finish on an okay note, I will say. And 3rd place, we end up making the playoff the final weekend, so that was a positive, but we could achieve so much more. Everyone knows, and that's disappointment. That's why everyone felt disappointed.
And then there's no point touching up on that season, it was what it was. It existed.
Yeah.
And then more change comes to Nottingham. Guy Doucette takes over as director of hockey. Tim Wallace comes in as head coach. What do you remember about your initial conversations with Guy?
Well, Guy, I mean, I knew him since a young age. We played together in midget AAA. So he told me his new role, what his vision was. Seems very, very good to me. He wanted to have a really offensive team that he tried to build onto. And I remember, I think he did a good job bring a lot of skills. At some point, I think he realized that you need more than just skills. And I remember having a conversation with Guy too, that then that's where he bring some guys like Ryan Horvat and Tuzi and some grit a little bit to help our skills guy. But did he put a good team together? Hell yeah. I mean, there's a lot of skills in this team, a lot of grit, a lot of good players. I think his focus was to bring some good person in that locker room. And I was 100% agree with that philosophy. And yeah, he brought some good guys.
Well, him and Tim, they always spoke about good people. Whenever they signed a guy like a Brian Connolly, it was, oh yeah, he's a great guy. Like, everyone they signed was a great guy. And then you meet all these people, you're like, it's actually true. All of these people in this locker room are really great people.
Yeah, I mean, it makes just everything easier. He makes coming to the ring enjoyable and having fun. And of course, you're not going to be best friend with everyone. And I'm sure everyone who's working in an office are not best friend with every person working with. But if you have good relation with everyone and you can have a pint or have a cup of coffee with anyone, it makes just everything enjoyable. And just having some good people makes everyone happy. So I think that was his goal. I think it was a great mindset from Guy and Tim to bring, and they achieved it. I mean, there's not a single guy in that locker room that I wouldn't go for a pint right now. But fortunately, season got cut short, and we couldn't achieve our final goals.
Now, when that season started, there was that really weird part of this, where it's the 9-game losing streak, or the 9 out of 10 games that were lost. At that point, are you thinking, here we go again, how is this happening? But from my perspective, the mood in the locker room was different to the year before. Even though we were losing games, nobody was getting down. There didn't seem to be much negativity.
Yeah, I mean, at some point I was like, well, we're almost too much of good guys, and we need to get a little pissed off and get mad about it. And I think guys kind of agreed, but it took time to get to know each other. It was another time, brand new team from the import. I didn't know much players too, as a personal way. You try to get activities to get to know each other, but relationship and team building, it takes time. So fortunately, we lost a couple games during that time. We had to learn a new system of Tim put in place as well. So all that just add up of just taking times. And when we finally figure out the system, and as well as figure out ourselves where our strength or weakness is, what you can count on this guy for, and what can this guy do for the team, that's when things start rolling, and it was rolling pretty good.
And how did you find Tim as a coach? Because he's a very X's and O's guy. He's a hockey nerd. He loves all the little details and things. How did you find Tim as a coach?
I mean, he's a good coach. He's a coach who started in the business as well. So obviously you have to give him time. He's gonna find his at the start he was gonna find his kind of model and his ways of coaching. He had a brand new system in mind that I'd never get used to. I never seen before. He had the way of defenseman of retrieving the puck that I was not very comfortable at first, but I mean, he's the guy in charge, so I'm gonna have to work on it. So it took me some time to adjust to his style of game plan and stuff, but he's a guy. So you do it, you do your best, and at some point I start feeling more comfortable with it.
And how important is it to have a guy like Strax as his assistant, who's like, Strax is at this point Mr. Nottingham, and he can, like, all the new guys, and with Tim, he can, like, he's that link between the past and the present, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, the past and present is good, but at the same time we have to move forward. So Strax has to adjust as well. I mean, the past, we had success, but it's been a long time ago. And the last couple of years are not being that successful for the club. So, but yes, Strikes adjust to same as everyone else, that the new style of coaching, and he got right behind Tim, and he was supporting him 100%. And you never felt a disconnection between those two. So that's always, as a player, that's always good.
And you got to experience something last season that you missed out on when you left. You got to play in the Continental Cup.
Yeah.
And yes, the town that we went to wasn't overly exciting, to put it one way. But what was that experience like for you, to be able to go and play in Europe?
It was great. I mean, it's just playing other teams than Sheffield, Coventry, and Bray, and all those teams that you see night in and night out. And now you play against a team against France that you don't know anything about, and Denmark, and so that's good to experience new level, and you can see what it is like, this kind of style of hockey over there too. So just for that reason, it was good. But town wasn't great. The arena was good.
Nice hotel.
Yeah, we still have managed to have a fun time, but
shame we didn't go to Poland for the final round. It should have been.
Yeah, that would have been fun, but good thing we didn't go to Belarus either. So
yes, that would have been terrifying.
Yeah.
But then that tournament as well must have been a little bit frustrating, sort of thing, because it's the width of a goalpost that decided that tournament. That breakaway that Jake had in that first game. It's like, I can't imagine how frustrating that is for you as players.
Well, it's a weird setup too, that you lost the first game, then you move on, you win. But wish we had a last final against Denmark that set up really was the winner. But I mean, the tournament is set up that way. But so close, but at the same time so far. So,
and as you mentioned, that the season got cut short early, which kind of robbed the Panthers of seeing where that team could finish, because from October onwards, the Panthers were the best team in the league, like stats-wise. You take out that 9-game losing streak, Panthers are top of the table on the form charts and everything. And it was all kind of building to a nice, had that big weekend in Belfast, get ready for then starting to build towards the playoff sort of thing. You could feel the excitement in the room going into Belfast. Like, you know, when you're doing the interviews in the week, like, guys are excited for that double-header weekend.
Until we get to the bus.
Yes,
that was a very different feeling. But yeah, 2 games in Belfast is always two fun games. So we used to have that more often back in the old days. So we were looking for new have a good game against Belfast. It's a team we end up having quite tight, and we're looking forward to it 100% until that morning that we put our feet in the bus in the early morning. That was a different feeling 100%.
What's it like? What was it?
We kind of knew we were gonna do our bus trip.
Because it was a strange thing, because I remember sitting in the office. There was a government announcement meant to happen that day, and it's almost meant to be timed with when you were getting on the boat, and that never came, which was the frustrating part about it all.
Yeah, because we didn't want to get to the boat and being mid-water and find out that mass gathering are shut down, and we were expecting it. I think everyone was expecting it until Boris decided that no, we just move on, and people will die, but it's part of life or something, they say. And it was a rough, very ride too. A couple of guys were puking in the back. But it just, at that point, we're on the boat going to Belfast. We're going to play. and everyone's got that feeling that even if we play this weekend, it's going to get shut down in a week. So you feel that we don't really need to play this game, so why we're playing it and why we're here. And felt bad for the fans. We saw the fans get to the Belfast in the bus, and from a full night of riding the bus, and we're hopping back on the other way. But it was the best decision, obviously. But it was a long day.
Well, when you find that out, I know it sucks for the players, the fans, for everybody. But is it a relief when you know what's happening? Because at that point, you're like, it's kind of this might happen. But then you know it's over. Okay, we need to get out. We need to get home, sort of thing.
Well, for me, it wasn't the case because I was planning on spending summer in Nottingham for school. So yeah, I was changing all my plans. So I was probably one of the last one to leave the town. I'd have no reason to leave. Basically, I'm like, well, I'm okay here. Got my apartment. I got the car. But I saw some guys come a little bit in panic mode, just on airline phone and trying to book their flight and change their flight. And but yeah, I wasn't that case for myself. I was taking my time. I left end of March, I think. When I find out that Air Transat was shutting down their flight from the UK, that's where if I don't leave right now, it's gonna cost me 3 times the amount, and or I'm never gonna leave. So yeah, might as well now.
And so to finish this on a positive note, because I know I'm never going to get an interview at you ever again after speaking to you for an hour and a half.
No. Yeah, that's it for a couple of years.
What's been your favourite? I think I know the answer to one of these questions. I'll ask that one first. What would you say your highlight of being in Nottingham has been?
Well, winning the league for sure. I mean, that was such a good time, such a great experience, such good memories. Even if we were in Belfast, I remember going in that little bar.
Rockies.
Rockies, and you couldn't move. It was full of Nottingham fans, I think, from the outside in. And it was a special night for sure.
And then, is there a story or a moment that you look back on that always brings a smile to your face because it was funny?
Maybe the time that me and Steve got the brilliant idea to buy some snake and bring it to the locker room. That's Steve and I we bought 2 snakes, and we from watching alligators 911 every day all day, we decided we want to buy an alligators, but you cannot buy that. We find out. So the rental shop offers some snakes, and we thought it was a good idea. And we brought the snakes the next morning in the locker room, and Rob Bellamy is petrified of snakes. I mean, proper scare. And I'm first seat in the locker room. I got that big snake in my hand, and Stevie's got another one back there. And Rob walked in and see the snake, and he ran from the locker room to the parking lot. Never came back into the room until Corey went to grab him and say that he put the snake in his office, and his office is locked, and he can't come change for practice because he's never going to practice that day. And we laughed at we laughed at that. But it's a good story of me and Stevie being bored and nothing to do and buying snake just because we think it was a good idea at the time.
Oh, that's perfect. That could be that might be the headline for this. It felt like a good idea to buy a snake. That could be the title of this whole thing.
Should tag Rob Bellamy on it too. He's gonna love to hear that story back.
I might clip it out and send it to him because I've got his email address from when I had him on here.
You know what? The one night after a night out, for Rob being so scared, he came back to the house, and obviously we had a couple pints behind us, and he managed to touch the snake. So we managed to he beat his fear. So I was very proud of him.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out for this. Like I say, I know I'm not going to get to speak to you on a camera recording for a very long time.
I gave you a good one, so
you gave me a good one. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And I'm back on the French. I had like 4 French Canadians in a row. It was like broke up by affinity, and I'm going back to the French Canadians again now.
Yeah, the best.
Well, there was that point the other year where you were taking over the Panthers.
Yeah.
Bolduc.
Well, yeah, Bolduc and the Urtubis were almost most English than French, but I had some team. I think we had when I was player assistant coach, we had 5 French defensemen.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, that was pretty. That was easy for me to coach, but yeah, that happens sometimes, and you just have to make sure that French doesn't take over in the locker room, because that makes everyone uncomfortable, and English guy get mad about us.
Maybe they should learn some French.
Yeah. I'm not the one who's gonna teach them. It's too hard. You can very write it too.